Hello. Just making a little video to go over what I thought was some really fun bingo strategy that I had earlier in my match today against Spoody. I should be charging my phone whilst I'm doing this. The whole point of this video is that listen to do what my phone is charging. Not the whole point. Not the whole point. A little bit of the point. But yeah. So, this is my match with Spoody. I'm trying to think of as much context that's really relevant before it gets to the point where the decision is made, because I think I want to kind of take it from the information that I have on the board, and then the moment that I'm forced to make a decision, and why I make the decision, why the decision is best made there and not later on. Yeah, and full transparency, I am tooting my own fucking horn here a bit, because I think this is a really cool play. I'm very proud of myself this one. I'm chuffed to bits, as many would say. But nonetheless, I think it's interesting to explain my thought process. So here, this is the point at which Spoody has gotten Quibble Gold Disc and 3 Gold Discs, is holding them.
Then I think... yeah, no, this is a really smart hold.
Yep.
You have majority, so if Kana checks off Quibble Race, you're not too bummed about it. Because you can still mark off the 3 gold discs and keep...
The two things get marked off. It's not too relevant because this is... I'm just completing the 8th Urban Mooncat as we do this. I guess this is where I can explain some of the context. Looking at the full board, we can see that we have a couple generals left. Generals are really important. I mean, they're important in every game, but I think when you are behind... Sorry. When you're behind, it's extra important to pay attention to the generals. When you're ahead, the same reason, because you want to deny your opponent these opportunities to get these multiple plays. But interestingly enough, for me here, I have a lot of knowledge on what Spoody has for this 4 levels. As you can see here, shit. Can't draw on this. I know there's some OBS drawing feature. Can you see my mouse? Hang on. Snipping tool. I apologize for the scuffedness. I'm not a real content creator. Let's go. Window capture. Snipping tool. Right? Do we have anti-privacy features? Am I not allowed to show my snipping tool? Fuck. Okay, never mind. Ignore that. Just, I'm going to have faith that you can look at the board and see what I see. So, first of all, there's Paint Chase beat 5 courses, Paint Chase beat 7 levels. So we know that Spoody has beaten 4 levels in Paint Chase. We have a Tactics win 5 battles. We know that Spoody has beaten 4 levels in that game. We have Camouflage Gold Disc for that game. To get a Gold Disc, you need to beat 4 levels, at least. So we know at least 3. I think Spoody also has a 4th level in Warp Tank. I mean, I don't know that for sure, but the point is that I know that Spoody has 3 levels of progress, right? I would have thought Quibble Race counted for this as well. I'd be wrong. Apparently that doesn't count. But point is, Spoody is very close to getting the 4 levels in 5 different games. And also, Spoody has a Tactics and Avianos, and that's basically... that's 2/3 of 4 is bad, right? So, at any point after this, Spoody can go into Combatants. Well, Spoody can either do a quick level rush on like Campanella, get 4 levels there, and then go into Combatants, get 3 levels there, and get two squares off, which at this point in the game, when Spoody has 10 points, taking him to 12, that's very important, right? Because even denying Spoody one of these 2 generals makes it so that when Spoody does this, he goes to 11, and 11 is much better than 12. If you're at 12, you need 1 square. If you're at 11, you need 2. That's literally double the work. but it's only one more square's worth that you need to like block, if that makes sense. But the stress and the effort that it like takes off you to make up that deficit is like it's very big. So that's why it's important to get this 4 levels in 5 different games square. I mean, you know, I could leave it at that basically. Because I have Mooncat, I have Kid Club. I got that Kid Club for the gift to block this middle column earlier in the game. I don't want to talk about the rest of the game. The beginning of the game is sloppy. It's getting squares fast. I ended up in a situation where I had to block a bunch of Spoody's fingers. The late game is just snipes and like 1 and 3s and calls. But I guess we can look at what the late game would have looked like had I gone straight into Disconia. But yeah, point is, if I don't get this levels thing now and I just block the Disconia, Spoody has a very easy double play that leads him into 12 points, and then all of a sudden, even though I block Disconia and take away however long Spoody spends in that goal, I'm still at like a major disadvantage in this endgame, and I'm probably not winning, because when it gets to 12, okay, let's take off the squares that would be taken. Mooncat, War is bad, 4 levels, Lords of Disconia. So we have Vanger, Mortal, Devolution, Kid Club, Seesaw Drive, right? I would need to... Okay. First of all, let's say that in this hypothetical, I'm faster at Spooty at all of these goals, which is unrealistic. I would need to correctly predict what Spooty is in, and then race him and beat him 5 times in a row. So, the odds of that is 1.5 to the power of 5, because you have to do it 5 times. So that is 1 in 32, or about 3%. So if I don't do this and I just go straight into Disconia, I have about a 3% chance. I guess in the time it takes Spoody to do the combatants and the thingy, I guess I can get 1 square, so it's more like 1 in 16, which is still 6%, which is it's better, but Spoody's still very favored in that endgame. And also, I think maybe it's possible that Spoody can force a win through doing 1 level in Mortal and then going into a different goal. Because if I'm in Mortal and it's a race there, and then Spoody takes the Spoody gets progress and leaves, Spoody will be ahead in the game that he leaves in and plays instead. And if I'm in the game that Spoody's playing, then we'll have Mortal progress, can go back to Mortal and finish that off. I guess Mortal's the square I take off, but the same thing applies to Vanger. I do have progress in Vanger from a gift, but if Spoody gets a little bit more progress than the gift, same thing applies. There's some things that are basically forced wins there, is what I'm saying. Either way, odds are bad. But, okay, so doing 4 levels in 5 different games whilst your opponent has you know, a very direct bingo threat, still seems wrong in some ways, because, okay, how long does it take you to do 4 levels in 5 different games, and how much does that, like, how does that affect your odds of getting this other square, right? For me personally, I know that I'm quite fast at Lords of Disconia Winter Full War. For me, it takes about 8 to 10 minutes. You can get some on the really low end. You can get like 5-minute times, I think, if you get really lucky. But when you're in a losing position, you kind of have to play like you're gonna win and play like you're gonna get lucky. If Spoody just gets, you know, a 5-minute win in Disconia, it doesn't really matter what I do. In this scenario, I've lost anyway. So, spending an extra, you know, let's see how long. So, the Mooncat goes from like here, 37-27. When do I finish Overbold? About 40-27. So, an extra 3 minutes, right? That takes my average from 8 to 10 to 11 to 13. So, the scenarios in which I lose based off making this play, however many, it's the chance that Spoody is going to take, I believe, like 10 or 11 minutes, right? If Spoody is going to take that long, then I've thrown the game by going for 4 levels, but like, you also have to make calls sometimes that you just are gonna get away with things. In this scenario, again, I'm very confident in Winter for War, and I'm aware that Spoody's very good at Disconia as well. Like, I'm not gonna discredit Spoody. Spoody had a worse seed. I think probably should have reset, because the first tavern didn't give him that much good stuff, and I believe the opponent had a tavern very close to their base, which is something I think you really want to avoid in Disconia. My opponent didn't have something close to their tavern, and I got vampires. I still fucked it up, and they still got navigation, which allowed them to reach a tavern after losing a battle, which caused me to play one more battle than I would have wanted to. So, you know, if we got slightly better luck there, could have been like a 6-minute, I think. But the point is that you play to your outs, because in this scenario, the one that actually happens in the match, after I win the Disconia, which I want to say, giving Spoody like a 3-minute head start, as well as the time he takes delaying, which is probably about how long would it be? I would say about like a minute or 2. Giving him that like 4 extra minutes probably raises his odds of winning that tile by about like 30-40%. I would say that's about where I'd put it, right? I don't know what they would usually be, but that's the win odds we basically sacrifice by going for the extra 4 levels. And then the end game that we emerge into after I get the Disconia snipe here, I think Spoody actually makes a misplay to begin with here, going into War is bad instead of going for Mortal Avenger, because War is bad is basically like locked up for Spoody. I think I guess he doesn't have information on what my 4 levels are, and it's possible I could have a tactics. That's the one thing I give him. And if I have a tactics and then I go for the snipe on it, then in this scenario, it's optimal to go for War is bad first. But but after the dust settles and we do our squares, because I think both of us played it like reasonably. I don't think there was any weird calls really. After the dust settles, Spoody takes a while and War is bad. I don't think Spoody being faster would have affected anything. I think either way I probably get Mortal and Vanger because I have progress saved up at Vanger. We emerge into an endgame where it's 11-11. There's 3, I would say, equally long goals. I think Piccolo might be a bit shorter, but they're all around like 12 minutes, let's say. All of a sudden, it's 3 50-50s. So, I think the odds of winning this literally are 50%, assuming equal skill level. Although I will say, I think I'd pull ahead in this Disconia. Not Disconia, pull ahead in this Demolition. So I believe I'm on round 9, as Spoody's on round 7 before Spoody fails. Which I think means me going for this Demolition is always safe if I'm faster than Spoody's Demolition. Granted, it's a tough seed, but, you know. For the sake of the odds, Demolition is a 1 game, basically, if I go for that. So, then I'm at 12, and then it's a literal 50-50. And if... Okay. 1/3 of the time, Spoody is also in Demolition, and then it's a tied game, and then it goes to a 50-50. So a third of the time it's a 50-50, and then 1/3 of the time, Spoody is in the game I don't pick, and then I win because I have an advantage. So say during this, Spoody's doing Kick Club, I go into Seaside Drive, I finish Demolition before Spoody finishes Kick Club, I go into Seaside Drive, I win, right? Or vice versa. So 1/3 of the time, I win, and then the other third of the time I lose. So I think it is literally a 50% chance, even ignoring the fact that I'm faster, I think. Point is, I'm going to say it's 50%, right? So, the end game ends up being 50% to win. If I win the Disconia, which I forfeit like 40% chance of winning Disconia, that's a number I'm basically pulling out of my ass, but I think that's about right. I sacrificed a 40% chance to turn a 6% chance of winning the end game into basically a 50% chance of winning the end game. So, basically, my point is, you have to look at the long term, even when your opponent is threatening bingos. Because oftentimes what will happen in matches is someone will have a very quick start, they'll rush squares on the board, and then the opponent is playing catch-up the whole time, blocking the bingos, and because the person that has all the squares probably has a lot of fast squares threatening these bingos, the other person is basically just forced into a loss at that point. Unless snipes ensue, which snipes should only ensue if the person with the lead is misplaying and trying to push for bingo threats instead of pushing the advantage. Well, I guess it's kind of depends. If your opponent is completely ignoring the bingo threat, then pushing the advantage could be wrong if you're getting sniped on that. But I think realistically you have to respect the threat somewhat. But in this scenario, everything kind of comes together. The knowledge that Spoody has levels progress, and you know where Spoody has levels progress. The fact that the Disconia goal is one that is RNG based, and you can totally get like time on your opponent there. There was one other thing. Oh yeah, I also want to say, when we are at here, and Spoody has marked off the 2 Quibble Race and 3 gold. Spoody also doesn't have to push the Disconia square. And if Spoody isn't pushing the Disconia square, and is instead pushing the advantage, probably gonna go War is Bad into 4 levels, right? So I'm denying 1 square of that. And then, I mean, I would assume, just based off the board. That seems correct. I mean, getting the 2 squares and going up to 12 is, I think, what Spoody would want to do if they're pushing an advantage at this point anyway. But even... Okay, so in this scenario where I snipe them on 4 levels, because I think realistically every time there's an advantage, those are what they're going for. At that point, probably has progressing combatants. Sees that I'm ignoring the bingo threat, probably inclined to go into the bingo threat as a response. Like, don't be scared to try and bait your opponents into things, because at the end of the day, if you're losing, you need your opponent to misplay. And I'm not saying Spoody, like, played bad. Spoody played really good this match. Put a lot of pressure on early game. I, absolutely crumbled. But, relying on the Disconia here, I think ultimately is a misplay. I think it worsens your odds, because if Spoody just pushes the 4 levels and thingy, honestly probably gets it if uses the delay from the 2 things here, right? Probably gets it. Can probably just go levels and actually ignore combatants for now, and then just have the combatants as like as an endgame threat. But yeah, rely on your opponent to misplay and like do things that make them more inclined to make these like riskier plays or plays that play into your hand more, right? Like bluffing my ignoring of the bingo encourages Spoody to go into Lords of Disconia. And this is not the scenario that actually played out, but like talking in hypotheticals here, like yeah, like if you need to snipe your opponent and make progress and get square advantage over them, you have to. You can't just like block the bingo and hope for the best. You have to think about your long-term prospects, which is hard, right? And I also want to say, I don't think this play works for like most people in this specific scenario. This is like the Disconia square is something that I think especially plays into my hand personally. But there's like a ton of things like this. If you think you have an advantage in this square, like I think going for a different square when your opponent is threatening a bingo and there is a square that you think you have an advantage over them in is like totally valid, but has to be the right square. This square is, again, to my knowledge, Spoody has a lot of progress in it. It's very valuable for me to get this square, because it's essentially -1 for Spoody, +1 for me. If we look at his endgame right here, right? If I have -1 square and Spoody has +1 square, it's so much worse for me. I need to snipe 3 times in a row. Again, it goes from like 1 in 8 to 1 in 1 in 8 to 1 in 2. It's a big increase, is my point. But yeah. Anyway, that's I think about all I have to say. 20 minutes is bit ridiculous. I don't know if I'm gonna post this, but I might just upload it to my channel as a little thoughts thing. Cause it's fun to think about bingo. It's fun to talk about bingo and figure out what makes it work, right? And what is and isn't correct. Because if you just play the games, you just get in there, play the games, you're not gonna learn. You have to think about it. It's the best part. Thank you for watching if you have. And yeah. If Glove, RPM, or Red Robot are watching this, I'm gonna fucking get your ass, by the way. I have so much confidence instilled in me from this match. Because again, sick play. Sick play that I don't think a lot of other people would have went for. I'm very proud of myself. But yeah, sorry. Thank you.